My name is Elijah Brooks. I was 44 years old, living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and pastoring a growing, influential church that had, on the surface, everything going for it. We had a beautiful building, thousands of followers online, a solid staff team, and weekly services that ran like clockwork. But inside, I was crumbling. I had become a man of God who no longer longed for God. I wasn't in sin, not in any outward sense, but I had become professional, predictable, dry. My prayer life was mechanical. I could preach fire and go home cold. I was tired of the applause and terrified by the silence I heard when I was alone. There was a distance in me, a growing chasm between the man on stage and the man who knelt, well, used to kneel, in secret. It started subtly. I found myself weeping without knowing why, driving home in silence instead of listening to podcasts. My soul was starving, but I didn't know what to feed it. Then one night in early January, I had a dream that woke me in a cold sweat. In the dream, I was walking through a desert. Everything was dry, cracked, lifeless. I saw a table set in the middle of the sand, a feast of bread and wine, glistening under a burning sun. But when I reached for it, a voice thundered, "Not until you fast." I turned and saw a figure cloaked in white light, faceless, yet full of power. I tried to ask what it meant, but I couldn't speak. The voice came again, quieter this time. 40 days. Come empty, or you'll stay empty. I jolted awake, heart pounding. I knew it wasn't just a dream. It was a summons. Fasting wasn't foreign to me. I had done the occasional 3-day or Daniel fast, but 40 days? That was biblical. That was Moses, Elijah, Jesus. That was madness. I had a full schedule, sermons to preach, meetings to lead, a body to take care of. I made excuses immediately. God, I'll do 21 days. I'll do juice, not water. How will I lead a church while starving? But the prompting only grew stronger. Every time I opened the Word, I saw hunger, fasting, wilderness. Every time I prayed, it was like God had gone silent, except for that one command echoing in my soul, 40 days. I finally told my wife, Jasmine. She looked at me with equal parts fear and faith. "Are you sure it's God?" she asked. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I know I'm not okay, and I can't stay like this." Day 1 was simple, just water and prayer. By day 5, my body was aching, my mind foggy. I kept showing up to church, leading, pretending everything was fine. I smiled on Sundays and collapsed in tears on Mondays. Around day 10, the hunger shifted, from physical to spiritual. I started craving the presence of God more than food. I began waking in the night not to eat, but to weep and worship. But the deeper I went, the more exposed I felt, like God was peeling back layers I didn't know existed. Pride, control, fear of failure, self-reliance. It wasn't just a fast, it was a crucifixion. Around day 28, I became weak, dangerously weak. I couldn't stand for more than a few minutes. My heart would race without cause. I was seeing shadows move and hearing faint whispers as if the veil between the seen and unseen was wearing thin. I wanted to stop. I begged God to release me. But each time I considered quitting, I felt a holy ache in my chest. Not guilt, hunger. Hunger for a God I once knew intimately, who now seemed just beyond reach. And I knew this fast wasn't about endurance. It was about surrender. Day 39, I could barely move. I was lying on the floor of my prayer room, whispering the name of Jesus over and over. I felt like a man between worlds, my body failing, but my spirit reaching. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of living one more day without the fire of God. Then something happened. It began like a wind. Inside me, not around me, within. My chest expanded as though breath had returned to a place long suffocated. Light filled the room, not physical light, but soul light. I felt lifted, weightless, no pain, no thirst, no fear. And in that moment, just before the line between life and death blurred completely, I let go, and I died. It happened on day 40. I was in my prayer room, barely conscious. My body had grown too weak to walk or speak above a whisper. Jasmine had just stepped out to get me warm water when everything changed. My chest tightened. Then nothing. No pain, no breath, no sound. Just silence. And then I was above myself. I saw my body sprawled across the carpet, pale, still, my arms limp at my sides. I watched as Jasmine screamed my name and fumbled for her phone. Paramedics arrived within minutes. I floated silently above the chaos as they worked, compressions, defibrillator, oxygen mask. But I couldn't go back. Something had released. There was a pull, gentle, irresistible, like gravity in reverse. Light poured around me, drawing me upward. Not sunlight, not man-made. It was living light, pulsing with a warmth I had never known, singing a sound I couldn't describe. It filled me, wrapped me, carried me. And then I was there. Heaven. The moment I crossed into it, every burden, every fear, every ache vanished. The air shimmered with glory. The colors were unlike anything on earth. Liquid gold, sapphire winds, emerald skies that moved with song. The grass was alive underfoot. The light didn't just shine, it spoke. Peace wasn't just a feeling, it was the very atmosphere, like breathing in the heart of God. I fell to my knees, not from fear, but awe. Then I saw him, Jesus. He stood just ahead, robed in light more radiant than the sun, but not blinding. His eyes were fire and tenderness. His face was both man and majesty. His hands, scarred, open, reached for me. I had preached about him all my life, but in that moment I realized I barely knew him. Elijah, he said, calling me by name. His voice was thunder wrapped in mercy. It shook me and healed me all at once. I wept. He came closer, and I expected to be consumed, but instead he knelt beside me and took my face in his hands. You answered my call, he whispered. You fasted. You obeyed. And then, with one gesture, he opened the heavens before me. What I saw will never leave me. From earth to heaven stretched countless golden threads, millions of them, rising like beams from people in prayer and fasting. Each thread pulsed with light, like veins carrying glory upward. Some were thin and flickering. Others were thick and blazing, like rivers of fire. These, Jesus said, are the fasts of my people. He showed me how every sincere fast, whether one meal or 40 days, became a divine alignment. The threads weren't just symbolic, they were real, connecting earth to heaven, opening portals of power, unlocking destinies. When my people fast, they silence the flesh and awaken the spirit. They tune their hearts to my voice. Fasting is not. That was the day I died. I came back with a gasp so violent it knocked the oxygen mask off my face. My chest heaved, my eyes flew open. The paramedics froze. One man dropped the defibrillator paddles. Jasmine screamed, not in fear this time, but in shock and raw relief. Elijah, she whispered, crawling toward me. I blinked slowly, trying to find words. My body was limp, but my spirit was on fire. He sent me back, I managed to whisper. They rushed me to the hospital. I was monitored, scanned, questioned. They couldn't explain what had happened. I had no pulse for over 7 minutes. There was no brain damage. My vitals normalized within hours. The doctor just shook his head and said, "This doesn't make sense medically, but it's miraculous." I knew it wasn't just a miracle. It was a commission. When I finally told Jasmine everything, the light, the golden threads, Jesus' words, she didn't argue. She just wept. My children listened eye-wide. Friends came by expecting to see a man recovering from a near-death collapse, but they found someone burning with clarity and authority. I wasn't the same. The presence of God clung to me like oil. I couldn't speak of ordinary things without my heart aching for eternity. My appetite for this world was gone. I had tasted heaven, and more importantly, I had heard his voice. I began preaching with urgency, not hype, not noise, fire. I didn't care if crowds shrank or offerings dipped. I had one message: fasting is not optional anymore. The church cannot survive what's coming with half-hearted devotion and a flesh-fed faith. We must return to the altar. We must fast. We must die daily so that we can live in Him fully. Jesus told me, "Tell my people." And I'm telling you now, the time is short. The bridegroom is near. And the only ones ready will be those who have made themselves ready in the secret place, through surrender, prayer, and fasting. So I plead with you, fast, seek, burn again. Let the hunger in your spirit become louder than the cravings of your flesh, because the King is coming, and we must be found with oil in our lamps. Men and women scattered across the globe, glowing with holy fire. I recognized some, ordinary people, elderly women, teenagers, hidden intercessors, pastors in small towns, missionaries in remote places. They were marked with power. Authority flowed from them like rivers. Demons trembled. The sick were healed. Whole cities shifted under their prayers. These are the ones who fasted in secret, Jesus said. They emptied themselves to be filled. In the days to come, they will lead my army. He showed me a final image, a bride preparing for a wedding. She was beautiful, but stained with distractions, her dress torn from compromise, her eyes sleepy. But as she began to fast, to weep and seek, her garments were mended, her eyes cleared. She stood radiant, burning with longing for her bridegroom. My bride must be ready, Jesus said, and fasting is her preparation. I trembled. Then he looked me in the eyes, and everything else faded. Elijah, he said, tell my people, time is short. His voice echoed, not in my ears, but in my spirit, like thunder rolling through eternity. Tell them, I am coming, and my reward is with me. But many are not ready. Many have grown fat on the world and weak in the spirit. Call them back to the fast. Call them to the wilderness, to the secret place, for only those who die daily will live eternally. He placed his hand on my chest. Tell them fasting is fire. It burns the veil. It opens the heavens. It prepares the heart. Without it, many will fall in the days ahead. But those who fast, they will shine like the dawn. The light around him blazed brighter. And you, he said, you must return. I wanted to stay. I would have stayed forever. But his word was final. Go back, speak what you've seen, shake the sleepers, gather the warriors, the trumpet is about to sound. And then, darkness, wait, sound, cold. I gasped, choking on air. Paramedics shouted. Jasmine screamed. I was back. Alive, but never the same.